Okay. All right, here we go. Thursday. Ah, what a big day. Yes, it's a big day. It's a beautiful day, as a matter of fact. It is definitely a beautiful day. We have a great hour planned. Yep. Let me. Oh, good. Gian says good to go. All right. Let me. I think our audio is fine on X, and it is. I can adjust that just a little bit. Gian says good to go. Let me check YouTube. I think we're fine. Just move that just a pinch. Oh, here we go. Okay. There we go. Excuse me, everybody. All right, we are live in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And we're going to tell you the latest because there's a lot of developments in the Karen Reed trial. There's a lot. And it's rapid. And it's happening. And it's happening right now. There I am. There's Debbie. Yes. Thank you, Debbie B. Yes. There's our YouTube crowd. YouTube, we have big plans for our YouTube crowd. Debbie, we're going to grow together. That's right, South Philly. Here we go. We have a nice crowd there. Yes, we are. All right. There's that. And let me, something's happening at Logan with an airliner. I'm going to tell you about that in just a moment. Let me also just check our Facebook family. And we're live in 2 minutes. Facebook looks good, sounds good. Yes, it does. There's Denise Oliver. There's Jane Rice. And there's Brenda. Yep. We're live. Yes, we are. And then we're going to be live in 2 minutes. Tomorrow, closing arguments. I told you the trial's coming to an end. Tomorrow's a busy day. Wow, what a busy day. And we're doing Court TV tonight. Tonight at 9. And tomorrow morning. Yes. Doing a lot of Court TV. That's true. But it's all good. I like them and they like me. What's not to like? All right. 1 minute out. We're going to begin in 1 minute. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be big. Tomorrow's a busy day. Whew. The schedule, Gian says it's good. We're going to start in 1 minute. This afternoon at 4 o'clock, I am doing the Paul Morrow podcast. Paul is fantastic. You see him on Fox News Channel. That's this afternoon. I just remembered that, actually. At 4 o'clock, glad I'm going through the schedule. And then tonight at 9 on Court TV. And then tomorrow morning, Court TV at 8:30. We're live at 1. And then Fox Nation live 3 to 4 for closing arguments in the Karen Reed trial. So we're going to start in just a moment. I do want to see, though, I think, folks, right now at 1:06 on this Thursday, I am seeing a flurry of activity. And happening now, a runway is closed at Logan Airport, ground stop. A plane skidded under the grass while landing. I have not heard of anyone injured, but a plane did skid off the grass at Logan. So that's news. That's news when something like that happens. Well, folks, good afternoon. It is closing argument eve with the Karen Reed trial. I think it is interesting. You know, the judge promised the jury, Judge Canoni, she promised them that the trial would last right around 6 to 8 weeks. Tomorrow, this is week 8. Tomorrow's the final day of week 8, and the case is going to the jury tomorrow. We could have I don't know. Could we have a verdict tomorrow? Probably not by this time. It's possible. But they're going to start tomorrow morning, 8:45, closing arguments in Massachusetts. Alan Jackson will go first for the defense, and then Hank Brennan will close it out. and then they will pick a jury. Now, remember, there's still 18 people. The judge will select a 4-person, someone that she feels has a good feel, kind of dialed in a little bit. Maybe someone's taking a lot of notes. I have a thought who that person may be, but we'll wait and find out. And then they're going to pick 11 people, names in the hat. Remember, there's 18, one becomes the 4-person, male or female. So now you have 17 people, 11 slots. The 6 that are not chosen, they will wait in a nearby room just in case something happens to one of the jurors on deliberation. So that's going to kick off. So the jury instructions are wildly important for the jury, wildly important. But I'm going to walk through. I'm going to tell you what I think. But this portion of our program, and right now we are live on X, where our audience continues to grow. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook, and we're live on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. This portion of our program brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Annuals, perennials, trees and shrubs, hanging pots, 10-inch, 12-inch moss baskets, hanging impatiens, pansy, marigold bags, large selection of beautiful patio pots, vegetable plants and herbs, tropical mandevillas, hibiscus plants. They're a full-scale nursery. They're open 7 days a week. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Folks, excuse me, visit our website, log on to depetro.com, which is right by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. So it's a beautiful day. I want to just check. Now, I am actually unsure what the weather forecast. Oh, good. Okay. Terrific. Oh, good. I prefer that. No, over the party one. Okay. Let me just check the forecast. Again, today's obviously a beautiful day. It's in the 80s. And then I'm looking dry. Oh, tomorrow's dry all day. Cloudy, not that hot. And then, of course, Saturday rain, because it rains every Saturday. But let's stay on schedule, as I like to say. Oh, good. All right. So just for those that enjoy watching it, I'm going to do the Paul Morrow podcast. You see him on Fox a lot. He's former New York City police inspector. He's also has his law degree. He's a go-to person on Fox. I think he was on the 5 yesterday. And I've been doing the Fox Nation show with him, live streaming on Fox Nation each Friday during the trial from 3 to 4. So I'm going to do the Paul Morrow podcast this afternoon at 4, tonight at 9 with Vinnie Politan on Court TV, tomorrow morning at 8:30 on Court TV, tomorrow at 3 o'clock Fox Nation, and then I know Monday morning on Court TV. We'll see. Maybe tomorrow night. I don't know. But let's stay on schedule. I want to address, there's a lot of changes today. There's also a lot of people that are new to the case. Don't forget, depetro.com, brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Stop in. I can't wait to have a great meal. We're going to have a good time at the Coesit Inn with our Road Patrol Command Center. I like to wear the hat to promote the show, and also in our moderators and so forth. The Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. Now, obviously, a number of people are asking me, what do I think? So, and I also have people, I've said it before, I don't bet on something. This is a murder trial. This is very sensitive. This is a very sensitive matter. I'm not going to do it because, number one, I just don't think it sounds good. I know it doesn't sound good. And I have too much respect for the O'Keefes and the process. So I have people, bet you, and I'm not looking to do that. I'm just going to share with you my thoughts. By the way, I also think there's a litmus test with the Karen Read trial. So last night on Court TV, we talked about, and he asked on whether or not there is they asked the whole situation about why it's so popular. And I played it in the earlier part of the radio show. One of the reasons why it's so popular is because of, number one, it's on television. Number two, because of social media. There's a woman on TikTok right now that says Brian Higgins has been offered a proffer and he's going to flip and testify against everyone. Folks, do you understand that's all made up? It's all made up. You know what I was seeing on TikTok and other things? I think there's a bombshell coming. I think there's a defense bombshell coming. Since last spring, we've been hearing people are going to be arrested. As I said last night, if people learn about a story through the lens of a conspiracy, sadly, many people go down the rabbit hole of the conspiracy. And I was aware of the case. I didn't go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy, probably for a number of different reasons. I think a lot of the people that got caught up in it and are still caught up in it, I've spoken to a lot of different people, but even when walls get knocked down, they just keep moving on. It doesn't even seem to matter. Now, something really significant happened this morning. Actually, I'm just going to turn off. I have an air conditioning unit, and I find it distracting. And I know it's not really loud, but it's distracting to me, and I want to give best effort here. But something really significant happened in the courtroom this morning. And as I was trying to explain last night on Court TV, the problem with the conspiracy crowd is seemingly at no point do they think, that wasn't true, and that wasn't true. Is it possible there are other things that are not true? They don't go in that direction. It is literally like they go into a maze. They go into a hole. They go down a path, and they just keep picking up crumbs on the path. It's not healthy. It's not healthy, those that fall into it. But my answer was, a lot of people, if the way they learned about it was through the lens of conspiracy, then they are more comfortable staying in. And it's easier today if you're really just into the Patriots. There's so many channels that you could just follow the Patriots. And by channels, I mean platforms, YouTube channels, TikTok, various things online, podcasts that you could just follow the Patriots 12 months of the year, or the NFL for that matter. But it's the same with this. For those that are drawn to the conspiracy, I always find it interesting. There are people that are involved in the conspiracy and they don't even realize or recognize or think that they're part of it, but they are. And there's people out there that they just keep going to them and they keep throwing a new one at them. As I've explained, to me, it's kind of like right now, if you go to Times Square in New York City, there's someone walking around with a sign that says the world will end tomorrow. But if you go there tomorrow, he's going to be there and he'll say it ends tomorrow. And then it ends tomorrow. There are some businesses that always keep up a sign that says going out of business. It's not exactly a good analogy, but the thing about the conspiracy crowd is they just keep chasing it. It never comes to an end. Kevin Lenahan, Yellow Cottage Tales, first of all, I love Kevin, but he'll say, I would think at this point, these people are going to start to, they don't. In a normal situation, you would say, well, wait a minute. But this isn't a normal situation because they're chasing something and they're vested in something and they want to see a certain result. So, folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today, 508-252-3359. For all your heating and cooling in Rhode Island, 401-885-4209. Propane Plus. Do you use propane? You're going to love Propane Plus. Residential or commercial, call Propane Plus today at 401-885-4209 or 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. So tomorrow will be closing argument, and I'm very anxious to see what Hank Brennan is going to come up with, the special prosecutor for the Commonwealth. He has put together and presented a very credible prosecution. Now, in my opinion, as someone that has followed the case, and if they were flailing and going nowhere, I would say so. I believe he's made a very credible argument for murder too, and I'll tell you why. I think that. And by the way, a couple things. I'm going to throw some things out random. Whatever the verdict is tomorrow, I will accept, or whenever it is. Could be tomorrow, probably not, but could be. Could be Monday. Last spring, the Free Karen Reed people, her supporters, they thought be over like that. I was next to in the media line with someone that said, "Oh, they'll be back in an hour," and then they weren't. So I don't know how long it'll take, but I'll say that whatever they come up with, if there's 12 people that they select and they say, we've sat here through the whole thing and we find not guilty, I will accept that. The difference, though, is the other side will never accept it. They're already throwing it out now. Oh, it's rigged. Oh, the judge is in on it. Everybody's corrupt, blah, 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 the whole thing. But something very significant happened, and that is that the third-party culprit is gone. The defense isn't going to argue it tomorrow in closing argument. Do you understand what that means? The 227 Google search is gone. Now, right now, whatever platform you're watching on, to me, that is the litmus test. I meant to put that out last night on Court TV, although I don't like to hijack. I'm a guest on the show. And I'm a guest on the show, so I like to just answer the questions they ask me. I don't like when people hijack my show, so thus I don't hijack Vinnie Politan on Court TV, or Julie Grant for that matter. But to me, that's the litmus test. Right now, if you're sitting out there and you're saying, I still believe that Jen McCabe Googled at 227, to me, there's no hope. There's no reaching you. That was debunked with the prosecution, and the defense didn't challenge it. The defense didn't challenge it. They did challenge how he died. They did challenge the accident reconstruction. They didn't challenge that. But there are still people out there. I was almost going to throw that out to Nurse Kim. Nurse Kim, while we're both on television right now, do you concede that the Google search never happened at 227? I don't know what you would have said. To me, it's a yes or no. My answer is very simple. It did not happen. The first time Jen McCabe Googled that, Karen Reed asked her to do it, it was at 6:23 in the morning. This is not opinion. This was proven. No Michael Proctor. He didn't testify. They could have called him. The defense could have called him. Why didn't they call him? Brian Higgins, never called. They're not going to be mentioned. I don't think what the defense, the manner they're going to go down tomorrow, Alan Jackson will deliver closing argument. And what he's going to argue is that the police did a lousy investigation outside. That's what they're going to argue. I've been saying all along, the defense can't get him in the house. I've had people that didn't understand it. I still have people out there. They brought him in, and do you not get, and I recognize there are people that don't get it. The defense is not even saying that. Do you get that? Karen Reed isn't even, her attorney's not even saying it. It has nothing to do with the judge, by the way. The evidence isn't there. Hank Brennan made the right decision not to do a rebuttal. I don't think he needed to do a rebuttal. Let me just read through a couple of notes. I just want to make sure I don't. Commonwealth withdraws its request for conscience of guilt instruction. I don't think they need it. Judge is going to allow an hour, 15 minutes closing argument each side. Hold on. There's another one there was another thing that I wanted, which is they're just going to argue about how the police handled the investigation outside. Do you get that? There are still people out there that think those are dog bites. Folks, it was never proven, unless if you want to believe Marie Russell. I don't believe, and I want to touch on a couple things, but I also want to stay on schedule. If, as I have said, and I have people reaching out to me, all right, enough is enough. You have to, please, I can't, please tell me you don't actually believe that. Is this parody? Blah, blah, blah. It's the same. I tried to say last night, see, I have been, as a talk host, I've been down the road with the conspiracy crowd. I remember I remember Waco. There was a video you could buy. They used to sell it on cable or something. The people had a video they purchased, and it was altered, but it looked like that the feds, that they were lighting the Branch Davidian compound on fire. That was fake. That was another conspiracy. Then you had the 9/11 crowd. 9/11 was an inside job, Building 7, blah, blah, blah. Then I think one of the worst was Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook, 25% of the American population believed with Alex Jones and he created a hoax. He created the narrative that Sandy Hook was a hoax. 75 million people, 25% of the country. There were people hounding those parents. There were people that flew into Connecticut, confronting them. I mean, that's in deep. To this day, Alex Jones went to court. He's bankrupt with InfoWars. He admitted in court he knew that what happened in Newtown, Connecticut, Sandy Hook, happened. And to this day, there is still people that think that it was a hoax, that it never happened. So the lure of conspiracy is strong. But I want to show you why I believe Hank Brennan, and I do. Let's see the closing argument. I think he has established murder too. It's very difficult with the media out there. There are people in the tank for Karen. I know that seems odd. There are certain members of the media, there's certain Boston members of the media, that they see dollar signs, and she has IOUs with them. If I get off, if I'm found not guilty, we're going to do a movie. We're going to do a tour. We're going to do podcast. I'm going to have you part of it. And there are members of the Boston media that are like, the money is in a not guilty. That's how they view it. They've played this out as much as they can. Look at the conspiracies folding. What about all those people that were hounding Jen McCabe? The defense now concedes there was no 227 Google search. I can't see all the comments. I'm sure right now there's someone saying that's not true. Why were people hounding Colin Albert? He wasn't even mentioned in this trial. Why were people? As I said, there are people online still saying Higgins. But I'm going to tell you why I believe Hank Brennan has been successful. And I get that it's tough because there are people that have their motive is to go along with her. There are. And they view dollar signs. There's some people that are going to have some legal repercussions if she's found guilty. Because then how do you answer, why were you harassing Jen McCabe? Why were you harassing Colin Albert? Why were you harassing D&E Pizza? These people didn't do anything wrong. So there's a lot of people, but I'll explain, you deserve an answer. I'm willing to back it up. But this portion of the program brought to by Kids Club on the Pike. Don't forget their summer camp. The days are counting down. They're going to start it. Reserve. The key is to reserve the spot for your child or grandchild at Kids Club on the Pike. Call them 401-443-5336. Kids Club on the Pike. They're right off of 295. They're right on the Cranston-Johnson line. Maybe it's for a week. Maybe it's for a month. Maybe it's for the whole summer. Kids Club on the Pike. But if you shut out, you shut out. They have a great Facebook presence. Kids Club on the Pike, right on Plainfield Pike off of 295. Call and reserve your spot. So a couple things, and I want to explain why. There was last night, there was someone attacking me, not while I was on, but apparently on Court TV, after I was already done and still attacking me. But I want to explain why I believe that Hank Brennan will be successful. And they showed it last night. And he also, I've been playing it on the radio show. He argued it when Alessi was trying to get the mistrial. But in Massachusetts, second-degree murder. Now, different states, it's different in different states. But second-degree murder, in order to prove murder in the second degree, the Commonwealth must prove the following elements. Number one, the defendant caused the death of John O'Keefe. Okay. And then number two, the defendant, and it's one of three things, A, B, or C. Ready? The defendant, meaning Karen Reed, A, intended to kill John O'Keefe. Well, that doesn't really apply here. B, intended to cause grievous bodily harm to John O'Keefe. Doesn't apply. But here's the part. Intended to do an act which, in the circumstances known to the defendant, a reasonable person would have known created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result. And that's the key. And as Hank Brennan, and I want to pull up, I have a couple of graphs. That's one of them. Ready? There it is. That graph. I think that's a very powerful graph, that I have on the screen. And I'll tell you why. And that's because this really demonstrates, and what I believe that Hank Brennan has really hit home here, is if you look at this, the defense was not successful in knocking this out. This was where the Lexus data was paired with his phone. And this is Fairview Road. And what I found so significant here is this shows that she pulled forward at the bottom, then backed up. So she pulled her vehicle forward to give herself a little more running room, and then hit the gas in reverse. I found that very compelling. And it happened in less than 10 seconds. And if you've seen the video, actually, that those clowns from Arca showed, I thought, number one, it was very violent when you see 24 miles an hour. It doesn't sound fast. But boy, when you saw that mannequin getting hit by a vehicle going 24 miles an hour, it was very violent. And it happens like that. It happens in 10 seconds, less than 10 seconds. But the reason why I think Hank Brennan, I think he has been successful with that, is so many people have said it was an accident. I don't think she meant to do it. But if you look at that graph that I just had up, she pulled forward. She did, right? She successfully put the car, the Lexus, forward. Then she put it in reverse and gunned it. 75%, pedal to the metal. Karen Reed backed it up and hit him. Now, there's video of her, which will be played tomorrow. Closing arguments, from what I understand, we're going to be rejoined again by all the Karen clips. And one of the things she said was, when I saw him, he didn't look mortally wounded. And as I've explained, I think, the jury got it with the doctors saying death is not instant. Death is not, then you're just like in a movie, a TV show where then there's no movement. It's actually, I think Dr. Wolf explained that. Even Lapazada, even she explained it, that it's very likely that although he had hit his head backwards and slid, that's why he had the grass stains, but his arms and legs were probably moving, which leads me to believe that she saw him but thought he's just going to get up and walk away. But here's the point. The intent, that's what it's about. Did she intend to put her vehicle in reverse? The answer is yes. And that's the guilty of second-degree murder. It's not, see, I understand it. And I think someone last night who was attacking me on Court TV, they misunderstood. It doesn't, if you say, well, I didn't mean to kill him, that doesn't matter. It's the intention. And I ran this by a very high-profile, very successful power of attorney. He said, Juan, you've nailed it. It is the person that they throw a rock into a crowd and it strikes someone, but it doesn't strike the person they threw the rock at. And the person said, well, I didn't mean to hit them. I meant to hit the person on the right. It doesn't matter. It was, did you throw the rock? Yes. Were you intending to hit someone? Yes. That's guilty of second degree. Now, they didn't argue intent. They're trying to argue, I think, that the voicemails show. The voicemails to me show, I think they show anger, as I said last night on Court TV. They show rage, actually. People have asked, what would it sound like? What does someone sound like to put their car forward and then back it up in that manner? The voicemails you heard, in those voicemails, was she screaming? That is alcohol-fueled rage. She is jealous. She says she not only hates him, she blanking hates him. She starts calling him out. You're using me. You're a pervert. I know you're with someone else. But you hear someone, that's what it sounds like. What does someone sound like who would move their vehicle forward, a 6,000-pound vehicle, which I also think makes her more relatable for certain people. It's not a gun. It's not a knife. It's like a plausible deniability. Some women, she didn't mean to. Right? Oh, it was an accident. That's not the interpretation of it. The interpretation of it, what was the act? What was she intending to do when she threw the car in reverse? Was she trying to escape? Was her life in danger? No, that wasn't it. She was wildly angry. That was alcohol-fueled rage that you heard. Frightening. Now keep in mind, she called him 53 times. Yeah, because that's normal. From when she left Fairview to then her phone, she actually connected, and she didn't even know that she had connected, and you could still hear her ranting and raving. But so do I believe Hank Brennan has proved that? Yes. He was found in a debris field with her taillight. Do you understand? The prosecution, the defense was unsuccessful. They paired her Lexus with his cell phone. His cell phone never went in the house. I think some people can't comprehend that. His cell phone, he had the Waves on. I have the Waves app. Never went in the house. The body temperature of the phone, it would have heated up. Oh, he went in the garage. Do you understand? They've given up on that. The defense has given up on that. What we have, remember, if you study history, after World War II, they were finding on some islands in the Pacific, 1948, 1949, they still had Japanese soldiers on those islands. No one told them the war had ended. They were still doing drills. They're still guarding. Right? There are still people out there that think he was in the garage, that think he was in the house. All untrue. None of it. They're not even arguing it. But what I believe the Commonwealth, what the prosecution, Hank Brennan, did was, and those guys from Aperture were fantastic. They paired her Lexus data with his phone. And when he got out of the Lexus, John O'Keefe, his phone never moved again 10 seconds later. When Karen Reed came up with the conspiracy, she didn't know about phone data. She wasn't thinking about temperature of phone. Do you understand? If he had gone in, the phone temperature would have gone up. Never went up. It actually never left the flagpole area. So now I also want to talk a little bit. I want, this is my approach. Listen, as I've said, I think I know more than some others only because I've covered other cases. There's a consistency with conspiracies. There's a consistent with cases. The Karen Reed defense and her defenders, they keep changing their story. There's normally a pattern on people that keep changing their story. They try to change their story to fit once more evidence comes in. And I get, Vinnie Politan there's a poll. I don't know what it is. 70% of people think she's not guilty. 80%. It has no bearing on me. I don't flap in the wind. I'm not doing this. When I examined the case in July of 23 and started saying, no, I think she's guilty, I was told it was never going to go to trial. I never knew it was going to blow up like this. And then for those of you that really follow the show, I was dealing with a lot that fall. right? We had a cancer diagnosis. I had surgery that December. I wasn't even sure if there was going to be a trial that I'd even be able to cover the trial. I got a late start a little bit covering the trial because I still didn't feel 100% after the surgery of, it's a grind, driving up there and being in court all day. But my point is, when I came to the determination, nothing has surfaced that has led me away from it. If anything, more things have shown me that my analysis was right. And I don't, some people do. I don't cave. I don't care. Those of you that follow the show and have followed me, I don't care. The people that attack, you become their best friend tomorrow if you comply. If all I have to say, I've had people say, oh, you should just tomorrow announce that you no longer believe she's guilty. She'll be a hero and everything. I don't treat it that way. To me, you put out what you know, and then people searching for the truth will find you. You got to have it out there, because that's what, like, many times I'm searching for what really happened with a story, and I'm not going to get into. There are people that it's insanity how much has played into this, but the more I've learned about it, I'm even stronger. I admit, yeah, the Commonwealth made. Listen, every big case, there's mistakes on both ends. The defense made mistakes on this. They did. They won't. Their crowd, they don't admit them. I think they've taken the complete wrong strategy. Now everyone's saying it's wrong she did the interviews. They weren't saying that last spring, right? I think they were wrong to not focus more on what her intent was. What her intent was. I think they would have been better off saying, I don't know, something along the lines of that. Look where they're going to land. If you're a Karen Read supporter, and there's plenty of them, you're not going to hear, like that Rick Pitino speech. Larry Bird's not walking through that door. Listen, Colin Albert's not walking through that door. Okay, Brian Higgins is not walking through that door. Brian Albert is not walking through that door, and Jen McCabe is not walking through that door. All you're going to hear tomorrow is the police did a lousy job with the investigation. That's it. That's what they're going to argue. That's what they're going to say should be cause for reasonable doubt. And then that's going to be up to the jury. I don't know. Maybe the jury's going to say, he's right. But I want to tell you something. There's a couple different factors here that I don't think other people have touched on. But I want to remind you, this portion of the program brought to you by Serve Pro of Providence. From water damage, fire, mold, fast, thorough, professional. Serve Pro of Providence. Call them today, 401-941-5500. They're available 24/7. Serve Pro of Providence, 401-941-5500. If you have a fire, if you have a flood, if you have mold, Serve Pro of Providence, 401-941-5500. Well, folks, good afternoon. And also, our radio time is up at 2. I may go a couple minutes past 2, just so I don't want to rush through this. I don't want to rush through it because it's important. We're going to be doing a lot of broadcasting. I'm going to be a guest on a lot of different places, but my main platforms are my top, obviously, priority for my purposes. I think you have to put what you view, right? Last night I was attacked for being an anti-Karen Read person. I think that's absurd. When I covered the Aaron Hernandez trial, I wasn't anti-Aaron Hernandez. I looked at the evidence, I listened to the testimony, and I thought, boy, it sure sounds like he's guilty. So with this particular case, right? Now, granted, listen, I feel for the O'Keefes. I like Peg O'Keefe. I think she's played a strong role in this courtroom. I like Paul O'Keefe. I do. I felt bad for his niece when she was on the stand. I feel terrible for them. They lost John. But this is a case. I am against domestic violence. I'm against driving while under the influence. And I believe that the Commonwealth, Hank Brennan, has put together a very credible case that points to a conviction. But we can't have a system. We can't have a system that if someone has enough money, or if they lie and spread rumors, or worse, in this case, if they intimidate others, that they get out of it. It doesn't work that way. There are people that say this is a really important case, and they're right, but they're right for the wrong reasons. Last night again, one of the Free Karen Reed people saying she could be anyone. I don't. That's ludicrous to me. This is someone, she's got serious problems. She had serious problems. To me, she still has serious problems. But why do I think it's going to arrive that way? And all these people so long now, oh, there's reasonable doubt. I don't think they understand what reasonable doubt is. It has to be reasonable doubt, not unreasonable doubt. So what got me to where I am? Well, number one, Hank Brennan. This is one of the, I think, I was going to say one of the best. I think this is the best prosecution of a case I've ever seen. Of all the cases that I've covered, it's better than the case against Buddy Cianci, 100%. The way it came together, the use of witnesses. He's a trial attorney. He's not a good attorney. Hank Brennan is a great attorney. For those that pay attention, those that want to be open to it, he didn't have to do this. He's a criminal defense attorney. But you know what? It is. It's the best case. And that's why it's also been compelling. Alan Jackson is one of the best attorneys I've ever seen. No question. Him and Brennan, they're elite. They're elite. For those that follow court, if you leave some of the bias to the side, you're seeing two people thriving and operating at the peak of their profession. But to me, Hank Brennan has gained the advantage with this jury. He's been there from the beginning. He was there in jury selection. I get that Jackson was, but he has been a steady presence in the courtroom. Hank Brennan has delivered for the jury. Hank Brennan has delivered everything he said he would for the jury. I'll get to Alan Jackson in a moment in the defense. Hank Brennan, not one time has the judge told him to raise his voice. He is, as I call, king of the courtroom. Not only can he presented the case, he was phenomenal on cross. To me, he didn't need to do a rebuttal because he sensed the jury's done. They're ready. You only get that from doing that after a period of time. Alessi had never been in front of a jury like that in his life. So I want to mention Hank Brennan. Why do I think what I think? You watch me, you listen, you have a right to ask that. I'm giving you the reasons for those that want to know. The use of those Karen clips, very, very powerful. I know you get to see them streaming or on television, but I'm telling you in the courtroom, there's nothing good about the Karen clips for the defense. Nothing. And it's pretty simplistic. If she saw him go in the house, why would she be saying, did I maybe hit him? When she shows up the next morning, she's not saying, hey, Jen, I see, what happened in that house? I saw him go in. She doesn't say that. This story evolved much, much later. No, I believe, why are they going to get a guilty conviction? I think one of the biggest things that I saw the defense could never combat were the words of the defendant herself. Very, very powerful. And everybody stops and everybody looks up. Some jurors take a lot of notes, not all, but every juror watches that. Vinnie Politan said, it's like a commercial comes on. Everybody stops. They dim the lights and it's loud. And it's her. And it's not, as I've said, it's not like the Zabruta film. Like, what does that look like? I mean, it's perfect. It's Hollywood style. And she's talking about the case. She's talking about, well, John got out of the car with my drinking glass. Interesting. Well, it was a weak pour and I was drinking. I was thinking, I don't know if I hit him, but I could have, what if I clipped him? What if I ran over his foot? Why would you be saying those things months later if it never occurred? It seems fairly obvious to me. That morning, she was talking about a broken taillight. eyewitnesses, Jen McCabe, the first responders. I get there are some people watching and listening right now that say they're all lying. But I'm telling you, in that courtroom, they were not viewed that way. Jen McCabe was a phenomenal witness. Kerry Roberts was a believable witness. Listen, I'm not saying they made some mistakes. But as far as that, and Nuttall, and Katie McLaughlin, and then the other one at the hospital where she was saying, well, we were fighting yesterday and blah, blah, blah. It's actually not that complicated. But what I think does her in is the data, the science of it. She pulled forward, backed up, and his phone never moved again. And that's not even contested. Do you understand that? But I believe, do you understand? Hank Brennan's been with them every step of the way. Hank Brennan's in front of the jury every day. Do you think they just toss him overboard when one of these slick defense people come walking? It doesn't work that way, right? They make eye contact with him. He looks at them. He's got a read on a couple of them. Maybe not all, but a number of them. He didn't do the rebuttal because he sensed they're ready to vote. They're ready to go. They're not going to let him down. They think highly of him. I don't know what to make of these people that are spreading that they don't like him. It's moronic to me. That's people that have a deal waiting on the other side with Karen. I mean, plain and simple. Karen has some verbal agreements with people. If I get out of this, you're coming with me on the tour. We're going to do a film. I'm going to tour across America. You're going to be part of it. She's making, all those promises, by the way, go into the trash can if there's a guilty verdict. But they're not going to do that to Hank Brennan. So these slick guys from ARCA come in. So what? They toss Hank aside for them? Those smarmy snakes? They toss aside Dr. Wolf for the deep breather? Marie? He was 7'2". Jesus, get her an oxygen tank. He was dead within 15 minutes. First we've heard of that. Really, he was dead in 15 minutes. I thought he was freezing out on the lawn. Why was Jen McCabe? If he was dead within 15 minutes, they had him in the house. Why was Jen McCabe Googling how long to die in the cold if he was dead within 50 minutes? Listen, that lady, she didn't go to the scene. She didn't look at anything. I didn't look at anything. All she needed was nope, he was 7'2". You don't toss aside these slick guys who are, that jerk that they had on Wednesday. He had a pink tie on. So obnoxious. No. Number 2, Peg O'Keefe. Peg O'Keefe, having her as a witness, that was a power move. That was a power move by Hank Brennan. She didn't testify in the first trial. And I'll tell you what was so unique about it was all the other witnesses leave the courtroom. Peg O'Keefe is there every day. And just the layout of the courtroom. The jurors, small courtroom, they have to look straight ahead. And who are they looking at? Peg O'Keefe. You think they're going to let her down? She lost her daughter to cancer. She's now raising the niece and the nephew. And she lost her son, John. They're going to let her down. They're going to let Peg O'Keefe down. This jury, these 18 people, 12 selected, they're going to let her down. She's there every day. Lost daughter and son. Mocked by Karen. He said, oh my car, oh my car. They're going to let her down to make Karen happy. Karen with the voicemails. Karen kissing Higgins. They're going to let Peg down. Not happening. These people are delusional. I don't know what world they're living in. I watch the jury. They look at her. Peg looks back at them. Most witnesses, they're never seen again. This portion of the program brought to you by Arch Design Builders. Folks, call them today. 401-207-4124. 401-207-4124. Arch Design Builders. If you're listening or watching on this closing argument eve, maybe you need a new kitchen. Maybe you need a new bathroom. Maybe you need a new basement, deck. Arch Design Builders. Custom build, 5-star, family-owned, high-end, remarkable customer service. Arch Design Builders. Call them 401-218-9707, 401-218-9707 for Arch Design Builders. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Watson Materials. Call them at 401, call Sean, 885-0600. The most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson Materials. Hey, they can make your outdoor look phenomenal. Landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone. Watson Materials, 401-885-0600. Well, folks, good afternoon. Listen, I'm not making bets. I am sharing. And I want to be very clear. Whatever the jury decides, I'm going to live with, obviously. But I'm not going to scream it's fixed. I'm not going to scream it's rigged unless the court unearths that there's someone on the jury. But then I'll let them handle that. But I am telling you what I have seen. There's a lot of powerful testimony, but I believe the data that has the Lexus on Fairview paired up with his phone, and every single one of those jurors has a cell phone. And that cell phone tracked John's movements. And John's phone, John O'Keefe's phone, he got out of the vehicle, and 10 seconds later, it never moved again. That is uncontested. Uncontested. As I've said, they never got him inside the house. They've abandoned the conspiracy element of trying to get him inside the house. I think the temperature of the phone, where the phone was, the broken taillight, he was found terrible, lying there, freezing, body temperature 80 degrees, huge gash on the back of his head, and lying there in a debris field of taillight. Folks, it's not that complicated. Put aside the foolishness. These people, forget about the butt dials. Forget about the solo cups. Those aren't dog bites. He was found in a taillight debris field, and she had a broken taillight. The Karen clips, that's powerful. They could never combat that. If there's a guilty verdict, which I think there will be, privately, I think they're going to say we could never overcome those clips of her. The star witness is the defendant, Karen. And again, it's not from 10 years ago. It's recent. And she's talking about the trial. And she's talking about, maybe I clipped him. She's talking about, I probably did say I hit him. She's talking about, well, it was a week pour. I was drinking a lot. She was talking about, I didn't think I mortally wounded him. It's all right there for those that want to find the truth. Again, last night on Court TV, I was on with someone that said, I present the truth. These people present the farthest thing from the truth. They don't want the truth. The truth is their enemy, actually. Because within the conspiracy world, whenever a wall falls, they just move on to the next. It's like a maze. They just move on to the next room. They don't think, if there was no Google search at 227, is it possible that there's other things that are wrong? They don't think like that. No. Do you understand they couldn't find someone to testify to say, no, that was 227? Richard Green couldn't come back and say it. They tried to find local dog experts. They couldn't find anyone. The defense. Do you get that? They couldn't find anyone that would go on the stand and say those are dog bites. Nobody, the defense. They offered big money. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Roofco, Rhode Island. Call them 401-868-7149. 401-868-7149. Roofco, Rhode Island. If you have a leaky roof or wind damage, maybe missing lifted or curled shingles, granules in the gutter, Roofco, Rhode Island, 401-868-7149. 7149. 401-868-7149. Look for them on Facebook. Hey, get your roof inspected. There's a very good chance it improves the value of the structure. And there's a very good chance with your insurance that you can get a new roof for free. But call them and find out. Call Joe, 401-868-7149. Let me stay on schedule here. This portion of the program brought to you by Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Call Corey, 401-283-9815 to make your payment look like new. They epoxy garages and patios, decorative concrete flooring, resurface a sport court, pickleball, tennis, basketball, fix potholes. Call them. Free estimate, 401-283-9815. Whatever the result is, tomorrow will be, and I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow. I don't know if this is going to be another mistrial. It's possible. I don't know. But I'll tell you, if you really want to appreciate this case, and tomorrow is closing arguments, you're an adult. You're not watching this unless you are an adult. So, but if you're watching this, the best way to approach this, you're going to watch, you're going to get to see two of the finest attorneys in the world. In the world. And I'm not exaggerating. In the free world. What a treat. It's real life. It's not a movie. It's not TV. This is actually happening. Alan Jackson from LA is going to get up and argue for Karen Reed. And he is very gifted. And then Hank Brennan is going to get up and argue for the Commonwealth. And he is equally gifted. And then it's going to be jury instructions. And then they start to deliberate. Maybe we'll have a verdict tomorrow. Maybe we'll have a verdict sometime next week. Maybe there'll be, I don't know. But what I implore you to do is just listen to that. At the very least, I think it's, if you have young people, they should watch it. It's, it's knowledgeable. And I mean like high school students, not little kids, but it's a learning opportunity. This is how our system works. And I believe that Hank Brennan has made a very strong case. I do, for a guilty verdict. Now, if you listen to the radio, stay tuned because you're going to hear the 2:00 news. And I want to remind everyone else, I'm going to just stay for just a couple more moments. This was also very powerful. This paint demonstration. I understand that he was knocked. I know that the Karen Reed supporters were trying to knock it. I'm telling you that this made an impression. The blue paint made an impression. The blue paint in slow-mo, how that hit his arm. I know it was very, very powerful. They put together, I'll say this. If she walks away from this, then she walks away. There's nothing more they can do. This is not an easy case. There's been a lot of distractions. There's a lot of noise. These are very skilled attorneys. I like Bob Alessi. Jackson and Eddie, they're pretty sharp guys. I don't think Hank Brennan, I don't think anyone could have put on a better case for the prosecution of the Commonwealth than Hank Brennan. They got their money's worth. Put on a case for the ages. And I think he's going to bring it home. And what's the real difference? To me, it's the Karen clips. It's the words of the defendant. She highlights the narrative that the prosecution has established. She kept undermining when the defense would try to make an argument. That's what I saw. This is how our system works. It's a great educational opportunity for those. I remember, in college watching the Klaus von Bülow trial. I was fascinated by it. And then I really liked, I forget about OJ like a lot of other people. It's interesting. I try to tell people it's real life. It's happening. It's not a movie. It's on TV. It's on Netflix. It's real. So, but I believe that in the end, the strategy of the three different attorneys, I don't think any of them got into a groove with the jury. And I know that the Karen Reed supporters cheering outside the courtroom, and everybody's a clown, and the jury's laughing at this one and that one. I am telling you, that's not what I saw inside. There's a lot of people for their own personal agenda. They need or want Karen Reed to be found not guilty. Some people need her to be found not guilty to protect them, or they think it's protection for them legally. And then others see they could be a payday. They could be a payday, that she'll then have all these projects lined up. It's possible. But I am telling you what I have seen and the evidence that they put forward. I believe that Hank Brennan, he made a much stronger case than Lally did last year. No one could have made a stronger case. Hank Brennan put on the best case that I've ever witnessed under very difficult circumstances. All right. We may do Road Patrol Live later. I don't know. I like how I'm not rushing to get off at 2. Thank you, everybody, for following. Again, right now, we're live on Facebook and X and YouTube. By the way, once this wraps up, I am looking to retool our platforms. And so stay tuned. I'm not exactly sure. We may do some streaming like this a little bit later into the afternoon. I may have some guests on that maybe then I wouldn't be concerned about language, which I always have to consider when we're also broadcasting on the radio. We've developed such a following on YouTube and on X. And by the way, all combined audiences bring us to where we are. And all our platforms continue to rocket. I don't know is the answer, but I just hear from so many people. I like your humor. I like your delivery. I like that folks, you see me there at a murder investigation. You see me there at the courthouse. I know there's value because that's what I look for, right? That's what I look for. Who's there? Who's boots on the ground? Who's giving me new information? And so I know there's a value. That's why, our platforms continue to do well. By the way, just between us, let me get rid of that. While we're on X and while we're on YouTube and also on Facebook, listen, visit the website, depetro.com. We always need support. There's a lot of things I'd like to do, but you need support. There's a yellow button there. Guess what it says? Donate. Support the truth. Support real content. Support someone that takes the time to go into the courtroom, to be at the scene. You want more of that, not less. There's too many people out there that they don't go. They don't find out. But, always need supporters. All right. If something breaks, I would think would be back. Otherwise, I will be on Court TV tomorrow at 9. Folks, thank you, everybody. Enjoy this Thursday. Why isn't it ending? Why isn't it ending? The stream's got to end. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. Well, here's one way to end it. I'm sorry. I got things to do. My goodness. All right. Well, we need to end the stream.